Matt, how you doing this morning?
Doing good. How are you guys?
We're fine. Great basketball game last night. Great for basketball, and certainly it was probably maybe the greatest final game ever played.
Well, it's certainly the most exciting one I can remember watching. I mean, I think it was a game where, I think Villanova established itself as I don't think it felt like sort of a fluky win, although they shot great, obviously. But they were really in control for a while, and then North Carolina made a big run on them at the end. And I don't know how you guys feel about a game ending that way, but to me, it's totally satisfying as a viewing experience. I had a blast watching it, and I think it's good for the game that while North Carolina was in the game, I think that's great to have the sort of superpowers involved in a national championship. I also think it's great to have a team that, even though they've already won, in the past in a big way, I think it's great to see a team that isn't one of these North Carolina, Kansas, Duke type programs to win one every once in a while.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that, I know we have a winner and a loser, but the real honest truth is time just runs out and somebody's ahead.
Right.
That's what happens in a lot of games. That's what happened in the Kansas game. Time happened to run out. When it ran out, had it been one more possession, somebody else would have won. So it was that kind of basketball game against a bunch of guys on both sides of the fence that played hard, played well coached, and somebody's got to win, and it was a heck of a game.
And the end really was, again, it didn't really feel like a sort of, Hail Mary situation. I mean, it looked like they had a great setup, and they got down the floor quickly and gave them a really good look. So, I mean, I think Jay Wright and the confidence you saw from him at the end of the game was kind of a great little sort of cap on it. That I think he wasn't intimidated. I don't think they viewed themselves as underdogs in the game at all. I think they felt totally confident that they were going to win that game.
Matt, what is the standing basketball UAB is going to promote Rob Eson? I think that's probably the right thing to do. I like giving a younger guy there instead of recycling the Steve Lavins and those kind of guys. Just talk about that move for UAB, and is that what the UAB people wanted?
Well, I think it's interesting if you look at how the search went, and there were some other candidates too that got at least an interview that may or may not have ever been mentioned. But I think UAB did their part to kind of try all of the different scenarios on. And Steve Lavin would have been a guy that is certainly in the past has proven he can win at a high level, but kind of in the back half of his career, certainly. And then you even saw them try the sort of, not that this necessarily would have been a bad hire, but I'm saying, I think when you look at them talking to Jason Terry, they looked at the possibility of making a hire that would be a big splash, that would get you a lot of attention and, maybe excitement amongst younger players. But I think for them, I think they looked at their program and felt like they had an opportunity to win right now and to keep on a track that has, made them kind of a dominant team in their conference. And I think they felt like hiring Rob Eson would let them continue on that and capitalize on what they have right now available to them. Now, we'll see how it plays out down the road if he's able to continue to recruit the way that Jared Haas did. But I think, hiring Rob Eson is kind of showing they have confidence in what they already have on their roster and in the sort of structure that they already have in place for the program. And I think the expectation for Eson is going to be to keep things going at the same pace that Haas had it. So there's pressure on him to live up to that, and to, I don't think there's going to be a lot of honeymoon period where they're saying, well, it's a new coach, we got to give him some time. I think the expectation is you're going to keep this program ticking at the same rate it has been going the last few years here.
Well, if you're a UAB fan, you really hope he's only there 4 or 5 years, which, means he's done well. And I mean,
Right.
not firing him, but he's going to move to the next job. UAB is a stepping stone, but hey, Mike Anderson made it work. Jared Haas has made it work. So now we'll see if Rob Eson, and I don't think that's a bad thing to be a program that puts guys in the Power Five if you do well.
No, I agree. I mean, I think you can build a nice program. There's a lot of basketball programs around the country that have gone through quite a number of coaches and still stay on top. It comes down to the support that your program gets, which I think UAB gets pretty good support for their basketball program, and the athletic director. And this is the first time that Mark Ingram, the athletic director at UAB, has made a hire for this basketball program, and I think it's so far everybody seems pleased with it. We'll see how it turns out, but I think for UAB I think there's a sense right now at that program that they may be with all of the sort of conference realignment talk in the air, that UAB may be able to somehow, a few links down the chain, benefit from that and possibly move into a slightly better conference than what they're in right now. And we'll see how that goes. They have to be playing well, and they have to show themselves to be a consistent winner when that time comes. So this could be a big opportunity for them.
Well, go ahead.
Hey, turning to football, obviously Alabama had their first scrimmage. Who knows? Will they come out? Bo Scarborough, they said, ran the ball well, but is there a concern at quarterback over there? I know we talk about this every year, so I want to beat it in the ground. But and there's another show here that talks about why does Alabama have a problem getting an elite quarterback? But these guys that they've signed, Matt, aren't they? I mean, they're rated high. It's not like they're going out and signing some guy that's not.
Hang on. What show are we talking about?
I tell you what, that show needs some work.
Well, I don't want to. All right, do they have an elite quarterback?
I definitely think they do. Look, I think Alabama's roster at the quarterback position right now is as strong as it has ever been in the school's history, honestly. I mean, I think there have been great quarterbacks to come out of Alabama, but I don't know that they've ever had as many highly rated guys as prep as they have right now. I mean, even Cooper Bateman, who is a guy that probably isn't as buzzed about as some of the other guys on campus. He was a 4-star recruit. You have, David Cornwell was a 4 or 5-star. He was very, very highly rated when Alabama picked him up. And then Blake Barnett was arguably the number one quarterback in the country at various points in his recruitment, and certainly was a guy that everybody in the country, was interested in and wanted. And then you've got, we're not even talking about the true freshman, who I think we're all just sort of assuming is not really an intense part of the race, but Jalen Hurts played a good bit, it looks like, in the scrimmage over the weekend, and they let him do a lot of interesting things. It looks like they had him carrying the ball a lot. So I think Alabama has elite talent at the quarterback position.
Let me tell you guys,
no doubt about that.
Let me tell you guys something that people listening to this show as well. Playing quarterback in college, regardless of how good you are in high school, is a work in progress. Where you go, what you do, how you work, getting better is a work in progress. You can't sit here and name 10 schools that got 10 quarterbacks, and all of them, if they did, the great quarterbacks, that they all won the national championship. So
I guess, but what they're saying is, we recruit all these guys, we end up having to play Blake Sims, who did a great job, but he wasn't. And then you get this year we had a guy from Florida State that came in, Coker, who had a great year, but he didn't take the bull by the horns until maybe the second or third game.
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. There's a lot of 4- and 5-star quarterbacks that come out every year. If you ever look at the recruiting rankings and see how many of those guys there are, there's a dozen or so of them.
A work in progress,
if not more. And you know what? You never hear most of them. Most of them go off to college, and you never hear of them again. You might see them play one game, and then they kind of fade away. But what happens at quarterback, and really to some extent, this is just like every other position. I think we just talk about it more at quarterback. Most of them don't end up being spectacular first-round draft pick level talent.
Right.
But if you're a college football program, you recruit one of them every year, at least one of them, and what you hope is the numbers work out that at least one of them is able to rise to the top of the pack and become a great player for you. Now, it's very difficult at that position. There are a lot of things that go into it besides just raw talent, which, by the way, you want to mention Blake Sims. So he was a guy that I think was able to excel at the position for Alabama because of the fact that he had some natural leadership. His teammates liked him. Those seem to be important factors. But let's not forget, he was an elite athlete. I mean, he was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, just not as a quarterback. So I think you have to have some elite athleticism to begin with, but I also think you have to have some intangible factors, and I think that's true of a lot of positions. We just talk about it a lot more.
Well, that's exactly right.
You need your middle linebacker to be a great leader, too, that people believe in.
That's the dumbest cotton-picking thing. All three of these quarterbacks that Alabama has are highly recruited.
Well, I think,
they were highly recruited, and the other factor is just like he says. The other factor is you try to judge, you try to decide who's the best fit for you. Then you got to recruit the booger bear after you try to decide. You're going to go into Norman, Oklahoma, and get the best player from right there that Oklahoma fought like a Dickens to get. Come on.
Well, I think some of the problem is that people, they don't put it all together because Nick Saban, and they're going to win with defense. All right, they're going to play great defense.
They're going to get up another coach.
They're going to win with great defense, and then they're going to
they scored 40-something points.
Yeah, but they're not going to let their quarterback sling the ball over. I don't care how many receivers they got over there. They're not going to be dropping back, slinging it all over the field because that's not the system that they have.
Look, I don't know, Barry. I think here's the thing. I think here's what Nick Saban has shown us the last couple of years. I think he wants to be able to win a football game every possible way that you might have to win it. Yeah. I think he wants to have all the weapons available at his disposal. That if he gets in a game and it starts looking like, you know what, we're going to have to throw the ball 50 times today if we want to win, he wants to be able to have the personnel to do that. And he also wants to have the personnel to run the ball and play defense and grind it out and win, 14-7. And
let me tell you two.
Got it. Well, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. Let me tell you two whippersnappers something. And all the people that listen to this show, I was there when the talk was, what are we going to do when Coach Bryant retires? When Nick Saban gets out of being the football coach at Alabama, unless I'm highly shocked, that booger bear is going to go down.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to go down. Let me get through. And it's going to go down big time. And for all these guys who would say anything about that coaching staff or about those coaches and how they recruit, they need to have been there in the years when the whispering was what was going to happen when coach. It's going to be the same cotton-picking thing it was years ago as far as going down, because it will go down.
Well, I mean, there ain't nowhere to go but down where he's got it, right, Matt?
It would be extremely difficult for anybody to sustain what they've been doing at Alabama. I mean, I think the main thing, if we can turn it back to the quarterback situation, I think most programs in the country would be very envious of the talent that Alabama has on campus right now. You don't hear the quarterbacks at Alabama right now getting as much automatic hype as maybe the kid at Georgia, the kid at Ole Miss, and that's because the quarterback position at Alabama is not what Nick Saban and the rest of the program used as sort of their PR material to convince everybody why they're going to win a national championship. Everybody talks about Alabama because they have more great players at every position than everybody else in the country. They don't build their season ticket sales packages off of telling everybody we have a 5-star quarterback and it's all going to go great for us now. Some of it is how it's handled, and you just never hear Nick Saban hype a quarterback through the roof. You don't hear him do it, and I don't think you ever will, but that doesn't mean they don't have elite talent at the quarterback position, and I think they've been building towards the point that they're in right now in this offseason where they have really 4 elite blue chip level quarterbacks competing for the starting job. And I think whoever comes out in the fall, my prediction will be this. I think the next starting quarterback at Alabama will be the highest drafted quarterback that Nick Saban has had.
Say that again.
I think the guy that wins the starting quarterback job this fall will be eventually drafted higher than any other quarterback Nick Saban has had.
Will they have a quarterback transfer? Whoever doesn't win this job, will they lose one or two?
Yeah, I think probably.
Yeah, I do too.
You've got a couple of guys who are in position to graduate this spring, and I think they would probably, if they felt like they didn't have a good shot at winning the job in the fall, you probably would see one of those guys move on to somewhere else where they could go play immediately as a graduate transfer.
Well, what about the running back? After, of course, we haven't seen Bo Scarborough really. He looks the part. He is injury prone. What do they have other than Harris behind him, the true freshman coming in? What's behind him in case he were to get injured?
Well, they've got a couple of guys coming in this fall that they like a whole lot. And we know that Nick Saban has never been shy about playing freshmen at the running back position. He feels like it's a spot where you can play a freshman and trust him to make some big plays. Josh Jacobs is a guy they kind of got at the last minute. And Nick Saban's real interesting when you hear him talk about him because he wasn't very heavily recruited. He kind of came on very late. And Saban saw his film and saw the kid in person and was sort of saying, there's something wrong with the kid? I don't understand why nobody's recruited him. So they like him a whole lot. And there's another guy, B.J. Emmons, who's a lot more highly recruited. He was one of the top running backs overall in the country, a kid from North Carolina who's kind of your total package running back that you've seen at Alabama over the years. A little bit smaller than Derrick Henry and Bo Scarborough, but still very much on the big side for a running back and very athletic, very fast and strong. So they like both of those guys a lot. And then they've also got up there this spring already, they've got a guy that we haven't heard people talk about a whole lot, but he was a big deal coming out of high school, Ronnie Clark, who is he actually played quarterback in high school. Alabama recruited him as a safety, and they've moved him to running back. Now, he's kind of been banged up for most of his career at Alabama, but he should be healthy this spring, and he is basically sort of silently, I guess, become the third-string running back. But I can tell you, having watched him a lot in high school, he's a very impressive athlete, really good with the ball in his hands, and I think he's an interesting guy that I wouldn't be shocked to see him get some carries this fall.
Well, Matt, we got to get out of here. We appreciate it. He called us whippersnappers. I don't know what that means, but appreciate you being on with us, Matt. Look forward to talking to you next week.
Matt.
I don't have enough hair to be called a whippersnapper.
Yeah, I don't know what a whippersnapper. I have to look that up. Thanks, Matt.